Greetings! Welcome into the Sports Shuffle. I am Flying Ryan Gokers along with.
And promoter Mouth Joel Verlin, as we were just talking off the air, at least it was competitive, even though it went the way we thought it would.
Yeah, it took longer to go how I thought it would. The Dolphins losing to the Bills 31-21 in a game that never felt that close, but the score was tied in the fourth quarter until it wasn't. My assumption was at some point of this game, Dolphins are going to be competitive. Tua is going to make a bad decision, interception, and the game's going to get out of hand. And that's what happened. A bad roughing the kicker penalty.
Oh, yeah. Silence
That's
going to be seeing that one all week long.
yeah, that's a rough one.
And then you had the sequence where Josh Allen was actually almost stopped inside the red zone. Then you had the penalty that basically, okay, here you go, Cook. Here's a free touchdown. Thank you, Dolphins.
Yeah, it's not great.
Yeah. Penalty. Because I know you had the talk about going back in time to the Flores era when they picked Tua, and it's like if you had a time machine, who else would you have picked besides?
It's just not fun watching the Dolphins. I mean, they did keep it competitive for a while, surprisingly. I have realized that one of my fantasy teams might just be
Reek,
cursed this year.
Reek got a touchdown. Yahoo!
Which one?
Reek.
Yeah,
Reek.
that's part of why I think one of my teams is cursed in fantasy because I've got 60 points more than anybody else put against me all year. Played the team last night. I have Achan. Achan was fine, a little underwhelming, but fine.
How
I'm
about
playing.
Ollie Gordon?
Oh, that's not fun. And I'm playing against a team that's got both Hill and Waddle in the starting lineup, who both score, which they haven't scored really all year. So, yay, cursed team.
And
Anywho,
you're just like, yay, my fantasy. That would be F. How would it be the FM My Fantasy Life if you would do an FML, but you do that with your fantasy life? What would the acronym be?
I have no idea. FM
Yeah,
FL? Yeah, I
I
don't
think right.
know. But anyways,
Trying to keep it family friendly. Trying to.
yeah, the Bills just Tua 22 of 34 for 146 yards. That tells you how ambitious they were downfield. 2 touchdowns and an interception. Achan,
He had way too many three and outs though. Just
way too many 3 and outs. And at one point, I think Achan had 7 catches for like 26 yards.
yeah.
He finished the day with 12 carries, 62 yards, no touchdowns. Gordon did have a touchdown on 9 carries for 38 yards. Tyreek was the leading receiver for the Dolphins, 5 for 49 and a touchdown. Waddle, 5 for 39 and a touchdown. And Achan finished the game 7 for 29 in the passing receiving game, that is.
And I didn't realize how bad it was when you said that Mike McDaniel was a player friendly coach. When you're having all the players being late, people leaving in the middle of practice, that tends not to be a good culture.
Yeah, it's not great. It's not going to last very much longer either. Josh Allen, 22 of 28, 213 yards and 3
No
touchdowns.
nose broken again this time.
Yeah, and I was talking with some friends during the game, and we just said it looks like he's not even trying. And I went, well, it's because he's not. This defense is terrible. The Dolphins defense actually got worse
Yeah,
and more injured through the game.
you have to think about it that you have to give a little bit of credit to that Bills rush defense, who's one of the next to worst one I think in the entire league, and they actually knocked HN around a time or two.
Yeah, I mean they got kind of tore up week 1 against Buffalo, but they were better
Hmm.
last week against Brees. Achan was decent in this game, nothing special. But James Cook,
Ooh, he cooked
19 for 108 and a touchdown, also
in the
chipped
kitchen,
in.
and if you started him, you are happy. If you have him, you're happy. If you played against him, you are not happy.
Yeah, he's the number 1 fantasy running back so far this season, and he did nothing to come back off of that pedestal this week. Dalton Kincaid, 5 for 66 and a touchdown,
Oh,
paced
that
the
was such
way.
one of the surprise picks. Just when you saw one touchdown, going, oh no, it's not going to be a two touchdown night. It's a two touchdown night.
Yeah, almost. Somebody else got the other one.
Oh, okay, so it wasn't Kincaid.
No, it was Hawes, 1 for
Oh, okay,
5
that's right. That's right.
touchdown. 85, not 86. And then Khalil Shakir got the third touchdown, 4 for 45 and a touchdown.
The Haas one would sort of be filtered with the that helps no one type.
I mean, it helped people with Josh Allen, but that's about it. Anyways, let's talk some news because there is definitely some news out there to go over. Evan Ingram is officially out for week number 3, along with Will Dissly. The Falcons have released Younghoe Koo. Tyler Warren, the tight end for the Colts, is questionable for week number 3. I think he's going to play. He was limited the last couple of days, but he should be okay. But he is officially questionable. Zach Charbonnet downgraded from healthy to doubtful, so unlikely to go this week. Brian Thomas has become back to health. We'll see if that means anything. He wasn't on the report last week.
Practicing again. Yoo-hoo!
Yeah, back to practice, not back to playing quite yet. Dallas Goedert back to the lineup this week after missing week number 2. Bears are listing DeAndre Swift with a questionable tag due to a quad injury.
Ouch.
Wan'Dale Robinson, Kyle Pitts, who missed time earlier, they are back to full health. Darren Waller expected to make his Dolphins debut next week on Monday Night Football in the black jerseys I was wearing the last show against the Jets. Probably the biggest news so far, Jaden Daniels is officially out this week. It will be
Mariota time.
It will be Marcus Mariota in the lineup. Another big piece of news from yesterday, but we're getting a little more clarification. Tucker Kraft will not need to go on the injured reserve, but his status for Sunday is still very uncertain. He is listed as questionable as of now.
A rumor tight end, start him.
At least have a backup plan in place. I've got a dynasty that's got Tyler Warren. There's too many Warrens now, and Tucker Kraft. So I'm a little concerned that both of them missed. I'm trying to figure out an option there. Jackson Dart could be inserted in the lineup as early as week 4 if this week goes really, really badly against the Chiefs. Very possible that will happen. And let's see.
I'm hoping for an 0-3. I'm hoping for an 0-3.
You're going to get an 0-3. It's just which side. I know you're rooting for the Chiefs, though.
Chiefs. Not Giants. That's the one time I think I'm actually rooting for the Giants, even though I'm probably giving away. But
hey, rooting for the Giants and picking the Giants are two very different things. I think we can all root for the Giants, just like last night when I had my bet that Miami was going to get pounded. I'm still rooting for my Dolphins, but if they get destroyed, which neither one of them happened, so it was really just not a fun game for me. I was like, oh, at least I have something I can look forward to if we do have an absolute stomping on our hands, which we did not.
You were amazed that they scored even that much.
I was surprised it was close, and I do think that missed field goal towards the end of the first half for the Bills was a big thing because that was one of the weirdest, ugliest kicks. It wasn't blocked. I thought it was blocked how it came off his foot. It was spinning side to side.
Wondering, huh?
Yeah, it didn't look like a kick that was kicked cleanly. I thought it had to be blocked. It was spinning sideways, not end over end like a kick's supposed to.
Someone messed up when they were trying to get the kick meter going in Madden, right?
Pretty much. And it was just a bad one. Then Dolphins go back and score. I'm like, okay, this is interesting. But I do think that kind of forced this game a little closer than it should have been because I think if they get that field goal, they kick the ball off. The Dolphins don't go down and score. And this
or the teams and kickers just
unless you have a Grammatica. That's been historically the fix for that, which is currently what South Florida has, but nobody else. I'm going to laugh when he ends up being the Tampa kicker in about 3 years. Nico Grammatica. We know what's going to happen. Anyways, no other major news. We do know that Joe Burrow is not going to be back for 3 months. That is officially official.
Yeah, dropped him.
Big news.
He dropped.
Yeah, he's dropped for me as well.
I also changed the name of my team from Cup of Joe to Cup of No Joe.
Yeah, or Cup of Broken Toe. Either we're busted toe. Well, I mean, there's some options. Anyways, let's get to the picks. Since I am already sad from football, but we both got the pick last night, right? Both took Buffalo because we're not idiots.
Yeah, because it's like, okay, we're trying to drink the Kool-Aid. We're going, not that much.
No, and I did hear Al Michaels in that game saying, "Oh, it's kind of a moral victory. I know there's no moral victories in the NFL." It's like, yeah, there's no moral
Yeah.
victories in the NFL, but
One one more
they
one more
showed up.
thought because I saw a post. Do you think because there was I don't know if this is one person or if this is representative somebody criticized the Amazon Prime team for talking about Tyreek Hill's current domestic situation, and there was a little bit of a criticism. I'm just like, when a game is like that, you got to find something to talk about.
Yeah.
I think there's a way you can do it with I know it's during prime time, technically during family time, but hey, it's the NFL. It's like you have stuff like that. Unfortunately, go on all the time.
Yeah, I'm kind of sick of talking about Tyreek Hill. Just trade him before it gets bad.
You're like, please trade me. You should have just stayed in freaking Kansas City. They would have had another wide receiver. You wouldn't have had all this drama in Miami. I really don't think that Miami profited or benefited much from Tyreek being down there because you're going, okay, so how many playoff wins do they have? How many times have they been to the Super Bowl? How many times have they
Yeah,
been to the conference championship?
they've
He should have stayed in Kansas City.
Oh, I absolutely think you should have stayed in Kansas City. I know why the Dolphins wanted him. I know what they were hoping out of him, and he was very good when he got there at first. But
And the honeymoon faded very quickly.
I think Tyreek Hill is legitimately and fairly confidently a Hall of Fame wide receiver
He's a talent, no question
if he
about it.
stays in Kansas City his whole career. I think he's a Hall of Famer. With going to Miami and how things are ending, not having that playoff success with Miami, I
Losing one of the captaincies, you just not a good look.
yeah, I think that's unfortunately going to cost him a spot in Canton. Anyways, let's go to the games for this weekend. First one up is Atlanta at Carolina. Carolina is well, let's just call it what they are. They're real bad. They are real bad. But they've been a little spicy the last couple of weeks. They're a 4.5-point home underdog to the Falcons. For the Falcons, you're obviously going to play Drake London and Bijan Robinson. They are too good to
Ah,
bench. I do think you
Dylan knows touchdowns, Tyler Algier. Thank you. That is all.
possibly play Algier too. He's been fine. Um, I think Penix and Pitts are definitely in consideration for deeper leagues or Superflex, especially, or tight end premiums. For Carolina, I think you still roll Chuba Hubbard out. He's been very good, even though the rest of the Panthers have not been great. And Teteroa McMillan. Keep an eye on Jatavion Sanders. The tight end had a good week last week, but a lot of that was in garbage time. So before you make that move to play someone like that, let's see it one more week. Let's see it in hopefully a game that's not a desecration by halftime. Atlanta 1-1, only lost to a 2-0 Tampa Bay Bucks team in the final seconds due to recently released Younghoe Koo's missed kick that would have forced overtime. Panthers 0-2, but Bryce Young has shown some flashes of what we saw last year, just not 100%. Who you got?
Yeah, divisional matchup. Who is more disappointed, flying Panthers or kickers for Atlanta? Ouches. I tell you, Falcons' run game is definitely their best foot forward. So while the Panthers, yeah, we're supposed to be better this year, we're trying to look and see where that's going to happen and when that's going to happen. They need to show it up at home. I just have more confidence in a Falcons team that's better on defense. Penix is improving, and Bijan is that guy. I'm picking the Falcons.
Yeah, I think you got to take the Falcons here. Panthers could be sneaky this week, being at home against a divisional rival. We saw it last night. Like division teams tend to play up and play a little bit closer. So this could get spicy, but I'm going to take Atlanta as well. I just think their defense is too much better than Carolina's offense. And I do think they'll get that passing game going a little bit early in this game for Atlanta. I think Carolina's going to be in a hole early trying to fight back. Next up, Green Bay at Cleveland. Green Bay arguably looks like the best team in football through 2 weeks. That defense looks borderline unstoppable. I think for defensive plays, that's about as good as you can get this week going against that Cleveland Browns offense. The hard part here is what do you do with Tucker Kraft? I think if he plays, you still play him. We have to wait and see if
Wait
that
for
is.
the inactives to make sure he's
Yeah,
playing.
you're going to have to wait and see what happens with him. But Today is
Oh, that's
Friday.
fun. That's so much fun in the 12 o'clock hour. You're like, okay, is he in? Is he out? Is he in? Is he out?
And the thing is, you have to make your moves now. Don't get rid of Tucker Kraft by any reasons. But
Mm, mm.
for example, I've got him
Doing
in a
better
couple
than some
leagues.
wide receivers in the last week.
For example, in a couple leagues, I've got Tucker Kraft. One, I had picked up Harold Fannin for the Cleveland Browns in the same matchup. I picked him up after week number 1. He's sitting on my bench because he's a good player. It's a little deeper of a league. If Tucker Kraft is out, boom, right there. In another league, I picked up Huge, Quentin Johnson after week number 1. I had to drop him and pick up Zach Ertz for this week in case Tucker Kraft misses. I didn't have a tight end on the bench. Zach Ertz in that league is right now the tight end 2 because he keeps scoring touchdowns. And I think Zach Ertz is going to be a good option with Mariota. But make your moves to get that backup tight end that you're going to need now. Don't wait till Saturday morning. At that point, especially if you have a waiver period that goes at a certain time of day like you do in some dynasty leagues, you want to make these moves now and get ahead of it. So keep an eye on what happens with Tucker Kraft. If he plays, you play him. If not, you might be able to go just pick up Luke Musgraves, who will take over for Tucker Kraft. He's already somewhat involved anyways for the Green Bay Packers. Keep that in mind as well for your tight end options. You're going to play Josh Jacobs, but, and this is a big one, we saw the Cleveland Browns shut down Derrick Henry last week. We saw them have a pretty good game against Chase Brown week number 1.
PPR for the King.
Yeah. If you can shut down Derrick Henry, you can shut down Josh Jacobs. This is not such a bad matchup. You're going to sit Josh Jacobs. You're going to play him. But keep in mind, this could be a little bit of a problem. I do think at the wide receiver spot, good dart throw would be Matthew Golden. They've been trying to go deep with him. Hasn't gotten that connection yet. But you got to remember, no Jaden Reed. He's out for an extended period of time. If there's no Tucker Kraft, it's going to be Dobbs. It's going to be Musgraves. It's going to be Wicks. And Golden's got a real opportunity here this week if those injuries do pan out. And I think Jordan Love's a good play. We saw last week with Lamar Jackson just torch this defense to the air. I think that's possible as well. For Cleveland, there's a real strong sense of don't play anybody in this game. I think you can play Njoku and Fannin at tight end, especially if you are the Kraft manager and you lose him for this week. I'm going to say this. I think Quinshon Judkins should be in consideration. He is the rookie. He had all the domestic issues off the field with the police. Seems like that's on the back burner. I know the charges were dropped, but the NFL is going to do not going to take effect this weekend as far as we can tell. He was the best running back this team has seen since prime Nick Chubb last week. And I think he's going to get more work this week. He's going to be in at least flex consideration. I do know in a league where I went 0 RB, he's starting over guys like Isaiah Pacheco because Pacheco's been bad. And the Giants are a pretty decent defense in general. The Packers are 9.5 point road favorites in this one. Do you see a Browns upset of the Green Bay Packers?
Yeah, that's. I know you make the case for a divisional game, but
Well, this isn't one of them.
you can make, and sometimes you just make the case for the weird. Are the Packers ready for a letdown? But it's hard seeing that happen here. I know the Browns can be competitive but I just think the Packers get to go and embarrass somebody on the road. This offense is just something to behold. The Browns, they're just something. We're not sure what, but oh boy, I'm just picking the Pack to get another win, and the Browns go 0-3 as their campaign 2025. Yeah, it just could end very, very early.
I mean, I think all of us don't expect much from Cleveland this year. I think Green Bay is legitimately a Super Bowl contender, so we're taking Green Bay for sure. I am curious because when I saw the news about Jackson Dart could be the starter starting next week, if this game against Kansas City goes poorly, which, I mean, Kansas City could go very poorly for the Giants. If Russell Wilson has a good game and they lose 27-21, and he has another good game, and he is benched, I think he's got to force his way out and go to a team like Cleveland or Cincinnati because he should be on the field over Joe Flacco or Jake Browning at the very least. We'll see what happens down the line. But unfortunately for Cleveland, they're not going to have help this week. It's going to be Joe Flacco against a very good defense. Next up, Houston at Jacksonville. Jacksonville, 1.5 favorites at home. They are 1-1. Houston is 0-2. That Houston defense looks pretty good in the secondary, as we saw against Tampa last week, and they look good against the run in week 1, but they got torched by Bucky Irving and Rachaad White. So for the Jaguars, I think you're playing ETN. I think Bashal Tutin is at least an option for your flex consideration. Brian Thomas Jr. is too good to not play, but he hasn't been good yet this season. He's just got too much talent, too much draft capital involved. I don't think you play Travis Hunter this week. I think it's a good defense, and he's going to have to play too much on defense. He's going to lose some snaps. I think Brenton Strange, the tight end, could be a good play. Parker Washington was good last week. I think someone else is going to have to step up as that quote-unquote wide receiver 2 this week just because their defense needs that extra help. For the Texans, I think Nick Chubb's an interesting player. Probably more of a flex consideration because Jacksonville, not great against the run. Nico Collins should be able to go crazy finally. He had a good game against Tampa, not a great one, but we saw Jamar Chase just bake this defense last week with Jake Browning for most of the game. So I think Nico and CJ Stroud can get it going. And then Dalton Schultz at tight end is always at least in consideration. Joel, this is another divisional matchup. Jacksonville looking to go 2 games up on Houston and put Houston to 0-3. Can they get it done?
Yeah, as a must-win here, I think, for the Texans, losing 2 non-divisional games, not fatal, but to follow up a prime-time loss with a divisional loss, not good at all. I think Stroud against T-Law, plus the Hunter hype, even though I know you have the caution there, definitely adds up to a rough day for the Texans and another nail-biter, but I tend to think that the Jags deliver a gut punch heard round the NFL, and the Texans go 0-3, and yeah, their future dangles on a thread.
I'm taking Jacksonville as well. I do want to remind everybody when we did our predictions for the AFC, I took Houston as the last place team in this division, and I'm feeling a lot better about that now than I did at the time, just because we're seeing them struggle. But I think Jacksonville's the better team here. I think
Yeah,
their
especially
offense
with
is
Houston's
rolling.
O-line struggles. I mean, that is definitely glaring every week.
And that's the thing. This offensive line is abysmal. This is arguably the worst offensive line we've seen in the NFL in at least the last few years. Not just this year, but the last few years. CJ Stroud's running for his life half the time. They couldn't get a running game going into Tampa Bay. That in itself is not unusual. Tampa Bay's got a multi-year great run defense. We've seen them be good with Vita Vea. As long as they've had Vita Vea in the middle of that defensive line, they've been a good run defense. But I just don't have a lot of confidence in Houston right now. And until I see them really step up, they only put up 9 points against the Rams. Didn't look like they were really in contention in that game, even though it was close the whole way. And it really looked like Tampa Bay was the better team, even though the scores stayed close. That defense might keep things interesting, but I think Jacksonville gets it done. Next up, we go to the backup bowl of the week. It is Cincinnati going to Minnesota. Minnesota is a 4.5 point home favorite. And that's interesting to me.
How?
Yeah, this is one where I don't think it mattered who the favorite was. If it was 4.5, 5 points like it is, I think you take the underdog just because it's kind of an unknown on both sides exactly what you're going to get. But Minnesota looked awful last week when they played Atlanta. I know Atlanta's defense has improved, and Cincinnati is not Atlanta's defense. But
the one stat, I think Bijan Robinson had more yards than Minnesota combined.
Yeah. Obviously, no JJ McCarthy, no Joe Burrow. It'll be Jake Browning for the Bengals and Carson Wentz for the Minnesota Vikings. For the Bengals, you're still going to roll Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. I've seen and heard a lot of research done about when Jake Browning was the quarterback last time, and both of them were decent at least. They're definitely startable still. And I think Chase Brown at running back is going to be leaned on more. Hopefully that offensive line can help him out because I don't know how much Jake Brown is going to focus on him in the passing game. For the Vikings, no Aaron Jones, which is another reason why I'm a little surprised that the Vikings are 4.5 point favorite. Yes, they have Jordan Mason, but
you don't have
Jordan
your quarterback in there, and your run game is hampered. Yikes!
Yeah, so you lose your technically number one running back. I think Jordan Mason's maybe a little more talented at this point, but not getting the same opportunities. Now, he will this week. Obviously, you're going to play Justin Jefferson. I don't think you can play T.J. Hawkinson. I don't. I mean, maybe with Wentz, it's a different situation, but he's been terrible through the first 2 weeks. it may be worth looking elsewhere. I think Jalen Naylor in deeper leagues is worth a sniff at least at the possible flex consideration. I know I've got a dynasty league where he played for me last week. He was all right. Got a few catches, got a few yards. Cincinnati's 2-0. Minnesota is 1-1. Both of these teams, like we said, no starters for their quarterback. They are both in backup mode. Cincinnati's going to be there for a while. And Jake Browning's taken the helm before Carson Wentz, looking probably 2 to 4 weeks as the starter. Joel, who do you got?
Yeah, as you said, flying the battle it back up what the NFL and what TV really wanted, right? Not. But yeah, bro, gone probably for the year as far as fantasy purposes go. And JJ out for a while. And yeah, you're trying to look at, Wentz on one side, Browning on the other. I just tend to think the Bengals have more weapons in the area even until Addison comes back. Once Addison comes back, I think it's a different story, but we're talking right here, right now. So I think they'll be able to overcome the Vikes and their own lack of defense to win what could be a shootout. But I think things mostly is going to be on Cincy's side. I think it could be an ugly day for Minnesota fans. Picking Cincinnati here to somehow go up 3-0.
Yeah, I'm going to take Cincinnati just because when we've seen Jake Browning, he's been good. He's led the team to decent results. It's not like they've been just beat down and embarrassed. Carson Wentz, the last few times we've seen him, has not looked good. And I know Kevin O'Connell can really make a quarterback look better. We saw now Daniel Jones, who credited his time in Minnesota, is showing what he's doing now. That he credits his time in Minnesota for that. We've seen Sam Darnold come out of there and look decent for Seattle. Not as good as he looked for Minnesota, but not a surprise there. And we've seen him turn some other quarterbacks who are basically no names into guys who've gotten them deep into the playoffs. So I'm taking Cincinnati. It wouldn't surprise me if Minnesota won this game. This is one where, is it going to be a shootout? Is it going to be a defensive struggle or anywhere in between? I couldn't tell you. I do know with the points, you want to definitely take the points in this one just because I think it's going to be a very close game. But I think Cincinnati pulls it out on top. And again, like Joel said, they just have the better weapons. The best two wide receivers in football going head to head should be a lot more fun than this game. Is probably going to let it be.
Yeah, if the Vikings had Addison not on suspension, it could be a different equation. But yeah,
Addison back in week number 4. But this is the last week of suspension, so that does make a big difference. Next up, Pittsburgh 1.5-point road favorites going into New England. New England 1-1 after beating the Dolphins last week. Pittsburgh 1-1 after losing to Seattle in week number 2.
Which Steelers team is the real Steelers and which Patriots are the real Patriots?
Well, I think we'll find out from our picks here in a minute what we believe. But for the Steelers, you're going to play Jaylen Warren. He has been fantastic so far this season through 2 weeks. I think where you drafted DK Metcalf, he probably has to be in your lineup as well. Aaron Rodgers is a deep league dart throw type of quarterback, not someone you want to rely on. Same with Jonnu Smith and Pat Freiermuth at the tight end position. I really think the only must starts in this one for the Steelers are Metcalf and Warren, and Metcalf has not been what we were hoping out of him. For the Patriots, Ramondre Stevenson looked very good last week, so I mean, Pittsburgh's run defense has been bad. I think you can play Henderson and Ramondre, not in the same lineup, hopefully, but if you have one of them, you can probably put them in your lineup. Keyshawn Booty, that's how it's pronounced. I think he's the wide receiver you want in this game for the Patriots if you want any of them, and Hunter Henry's always a dart throw kind of tight end option. Both teams 1-1. Patriots at home, 1.5 underdogs at home. I know the Patriots haven't been the New England Patriots of old in the last few years, but it still seems a little crazy. What do you got?
Pats prove they can win at Hard Rock, normally their kryptonite. Pittsburgh proved week 1 was all about emotion. Take away the desire for revenge for Rodgers, and he reverts to a mere mortal. And I'm picking the Pats here because they beat your fish in their house last week for the first time. Steelers fall below 500, but don't worry, as that crazy Steeler crap is bound to happen again, and I know they get back to their anointed place of 9-8. I'm picking the Pats.
I'm on the Patriots as well. I didn't like what I saw at Aaron Rodgers last week. I know he had a good stat line week 1, but he made some mistakes and got away with them. That defense let the Jets run all over them. And we saw what Buffalo's defense, which isn't one of the best defenses
Mhm.
in the league, did to the Jets the following week. And when you have Ramondre Stevenson and Trevion Henderson, I think one of those or both of them can have a massive game. I just think New England's got a little too much, and their defense is a little too much better than Pittsburgh. I think New England gets the job done. And we move on to one of two 2-0 versus 2-0 matchups this week. The other one being Arizona and San Francisco, oddly enough. The Los Angeles Rams go to Philadelphia to play the
I
Eagles
think
in an
there's a false
NFC.
start in there somewhere.
Sorry?
There's a false start in there somewhere because you're
Yeah.
mentioning Eagles.
Oh, yeah. A rematch of the NFL NFC divisional playoff game that these two teams had where the Rams looked like the most likely candidate to knock off the Eagles in that one. The Eagles are 3.5-point home favorites. That seems it's an interesting line to me. It really is. Philadelphia 2-0. You're going to play Barkley. You're probably going to have to play Jalen Hurts, but he hasn't been great. AJ Brown, Devonta
Good
Smith.
boy.
I don't see how you can bench the name AJ Brown, but the
you're not going to
production.
have a lot of confidence in what his fantasy production has been recently. Yeah.
Yeah, the production doesn't give you a lot of confidence. And Dallas Goedert coming back, that has historically been bad news for Devonta Smith. Him and Goddard seem to go back
Another
and forth.
one that you're kind of going, where are the points, brah?
Yeah, I think Dallas Goedert is a good tight end option in this game. But I worry about those two number one receivers for the Eagles, the 1 and 2, I guess you would say. For the Rams, Kyren Williams has been okay. The Eagles have a very good run defense, but you got to hope he gets a touchdown this week. He's still in your lineup. He's too good to bench, but temper your expectations. He's poised to break out here in the next few weeks, but this is a very tough matchup. Houston's got a decent defense, and Tennessee, he just didn't get a touchdown. If he got a touchdown, you would be happy with that game. You're also going to play Puka. You're going to play Devontae Adams, and that's probably end of list for this game. Both teams 2-0. The Eagles 3.5-point home favorites. You're not going to have weather like you did in that NFC divisional game last year where the Rams gave the Eagles all they wanted. And I think the Rams offense is better than it was last year with having Devontae Adams and not Cooper Kupp. This is going to be a very, very interesting game. Joel, the question is, who you got?
Eagles looked a little flat, I think, against the Chiefs last week, flying with a grounded aerosol. We just talked about Devontae Smith's and A.J. Brown's fantasy concerns, how shall we say. Yet they still somehow won one of the ugliest games, I think, of last week. Rams did enough to win their game, and even though they're going to be, I think, without Sean McVay because he somehow managed to injure himself on the sideline. So yeah, if we don't have coaching slots in fantasy football, I mean, some leagues out there I think probably do, but that's crazy. And I'll tell you, I'm picking Rams because of how they played the Eagles in the playoffs last year. The Eagles got by them. The Eagles get their first home loss because I think that still has to be in their minds from last year. Rams go 3-0, and maybe the tush push is losing some of its magic flying.
I'm going to take Philadelphia in this one. This is going to be a very good game. I take the points on the Rams side. I think this could be a last-second field goal decides it. The Eagles have played poorly through 2 weeks. The Chiefs have a good defense. We know that. That slowed down that offense. The Rams have a good defense, but they're beatable. The Rams have beaten the 0-2 Texans and the 0-2 Titans. So I do want to temper the expectation. They barely beat the Texans as well. That they haven't beaten great teams yet. I do think it'll be a good game. I do think it'll be competitive, but I kind of think the Eagles, after what they did to the Chiefs, maybe kind of discounted what the Chiefs were a little bit last week, and they're not going to make that mistake again with the Rams. I'm going to take the Eagles. I'm expecting this one to be very close, and very possibly I'll be wrong. This is going to be, I think, one of the best games of the week, barring the Monday night one. I think it might be the best game of the week.
And we go to Raymond James Stadium.
Yep, we see the Bucks host the Jets as 7.5-point home favorites. The Bucks 2-0, Jets 0-2, going to be starting Tyrod Taylor at quarterback for the concussed
Oh, boy.
Justin Fields. This is not a good matchup for Breece Hall. We mentioned it a little bit ago that Tampa Bay has had a multi-year great run defense. Vita Vea, healthy, still there, still going to shut down the run. Breece Hall, I just don't think it's a good matchup for him. You might have to play him, but it's not the best spot for him. Garrett Wilson, I think, is the only must start for the Jets, and even then, this Bucks defense looked pretty good through 2 weeks, so we'll see what he does. For the Bucks, you're playing Bucky Irving. No ifs, ands, or buts. Igbokwe popped up on the injury report, but it is good to go this
Yep, he
weekend.
did practice Friday.
Yep, practice in full. He is good to go. Mike Evans, both of the wide receivers in your lineup as well. And
Hang on to Godwin.
Baker.
If you stashed him somehow, he's returned to practice.
Yeah, and if he is on your waivers somewhere in your league, so he was injured, people didn't have an IR slot, whatever, keep an eye, go look for him, try and pick him up after this week. I don't think he's back in week 4. I think he's back in week 5. But keep him in mind, add him to the back of your bench. He could be a free golden ticket down the line. He's not going to be great his first couple of games. But if Godwin's on your waivers after this week, or now if you really want to get aggressive, go pick him up, throw him on the end of your bench, especially if you've got someone you're perfectly fine dropping. And Baker Mayfield, we didn't say his name, but he's got to be a starter in this game. He's been very good through 2 weeks. He's been very good for the 2 weeks and very good the last couple of years for Tampa Bay. I remember when you were like, oh, we got Baker. Jeez, this is going to be bad.
Yeah,
and he's been MVP quality for the last 2 years.
I am happy, very happy to be wrong.
Oh, that's the best. I was wrong, and I'm happy because it's working out better. Like when I've always said when we drafted Tua, I went and got a drink because I needed a stiff drink because it was the wrong decision. And I think that's part of why I don't like Justin Herbert as much as I should. Because I'll say this, Josh Allen, as much as I can't stand him as a Buffalo Bill, is one of my favorite players to watch, favorite players for fantasy, favorite players in general. And he's on the rival team. I think I would have the same kind of feelings for Justin Herbert if Miami wasn't in it, he could have been our quarterback. Anyways, digressing from that. Bucks 2-0, Jets 0-2. Joel, I know you're a Bucks fan, so I'm pretty sure I know where this is going, but who do you got?
Yeah, even with the Bucks injuries and Igbokwe's definite concerning practice reports, which he did, as we said, practice on Friday, so that's good because that's the day that counts flying, right? That's always the one. Wednesday sort of gives you pause or concern. Then you're like Thursday, and they're kind of like orange. But as long as they practice Friday, you are G2G. And one just has to pick the Bucks after that win Friday. I'm mixing up my days. This has been a week. One day that win after Monday Night Football. Just let me tell you, boy, against the Texans and on the road. Bucks got the prime time monkey off of their back on the shoulders of one Baker Mayfield. That's right, same guy that I wasn't too keen on when the Bucks drafted him, but let me tell you now, I'm happy. Yeah, a division crown every freaking year he's been here. You can't knock that with a stick at all. Godwin's health is improving, as you said, slowly but surely. He's going to come back. Not sure about McMillan. He sort of kind of seems to be out there, hoping he'll be back this season. Maybe he had a bigger injury than we thought, but yeah. I just think the Bucks should be able to easily meet a Tyrod Taylor team coming into Ray J. Just come on in and let's just watch those doinks, okay? Okay, Chase McLaughlin, let's watch those doinks because, as was pointed out, you're being paid a crap load of money to get that ball between the uprights. So no doinks this week. I think Bucks get it done again. 3-0, and Jets fall down into the abyss early.
Yeah, Bucks are going to win this game. The Jets just not on the same level, already missing the starting quarterback. I know Taylor's a solid backup option, and he plays in the same vein as Justin Fields, so it's not like they're losing a ton, but they're definitely losing enough where the Bucks should win this game, going away fairly easily, and we move on. Next up, the 2-0 Colts.
Into Tennessee.
Yeah, the Colts 2-0 go to Tennessee to play the Titans, where they are 3.5-point road favorites. For the Colts, you're playing Jonathan Taylor. You're probably playing Tyler Warren. Keep in mind his injury. He is officially questionable. If he plays, you're starting him. I think you can play Michael Pittman in this one as well. And then Daniel Jones, I can't say not to play him for sure. He's been very good through 2 weeks. I know if you have a Joe Burrow, you have a Jaden Daniels, you have a Justin Fields. If Daniel Jones was out there, you were considering him at the very least. So if you picked him up, you probably are in a position where you need him. Feel confident throwing him in this game. He's been good through 2 weeks. Eventually, he's going to probably bite you. Every position has inconsistencies once in a while, but this is a good spot for Daniel Jones to keep it going. For Tennessee, Tony Pollard's been surprisingly good for yards and for NFL football, not necessarily killing it for fantasy just because this offense doesn't score a lot of points. I think if you really need a dart throw somewhere, Alec Ayamanor and Chiga Konkwo, two great names for trying to say back to back. I think they're dart throws, not necessarily must starts, but keep them on your radar for down the line. I do believe this Titans team is going to be much better the second half of the season once Cam Ward and this team kind of solidifies around him. But for right now, this is a team that is 0-2, looking like they are still one of the bottom teams in the league. The Colts surprising so far. Who do you got?
Is Daniel Jones that guy? Are the Giants just immensely dumb? Well, probably. As look for the Colts to win by however much they want to, as the Titans. And Dancing Cam, as we have seen, will have some plays and some highlights, but until Ridley can actually get open and do that catch the ball thing, and Ward actually has some more pieces around him, I think it's going to be a long, long season in Tennessee. I'm picking the Colts all day long.
Yeah, I'm taking the Colts as well. I do think Tennessee is going to hang tough in this one. They'll not cover hang tough, but they'll be hanging around this one. I do think the Colts kind of take this at the end running away, but it'll be a better game than people expect. But the Colts will win. Next up, Las Vegas.
Last early game of the day.
Yeah, Las Vegas goes to Washington to play the Commanders. This line is likely have changed since it was locked in here. Washington was a 3.5-point home favorite, but news of the Jaden Daniels injury has probably knocked that down quite a bit. Washington, even though, there's a cat hanging out right here, so if you see a tail, that's why. Washington with Marcus Mariota, I think you can still play Deebo Samuel. You can still play Bill Krosky Merritt if you so choose to. Deebo Samuel's been so good with his team, and Zach Ertz. I think they're both at the very least consideration. Terry McLaurin, I don't know how you can bench him with what you've already put into the draft of picking him up. But that being said, with Mariota, it is definitely more of a risk than it would have been otherwise. For the Raiders, you drafted Genty. You are forced to play him. And I think that's the best way I can say it right now because he has not showed up to be that guy quite yet. I think Jacoby Myers is a good option at the wide receiver. Obviously, Brock Bowers at tight end. Cat, you need to go away. Trying to knock over all my stuff. Dante Thornton's
lateral damage.
Cat lateral damage? I don't know. I'm trying to that didn't work. Dante Thornton could be a dart throw for the Raiders in a deep, deep league, but probably not worth it. This game, I think, was a pretty straightforward pick with Jaden Daniels. The question is, without him, is it a straightforward, or is there a possible, maybe not even upset with how the lines change, but what we would consider an upset in this game here?
That's one of those games that you're probably clicking around and going past, like, oh, how are they doing? As you said, no Daniels here, but the Commanders are the better team here. I really think when you're looking at both units completely, look for the under in an ugly, ugly game. It's Mariota time. Good luck, like you're playing. Good luck. We're all counting on you. A Raiders win here might be a thing, but after seeing their lack of offense against the Chargers, it's just hard having any kind of confidence in the Raiders at all because we were going, okay, when's the scoring going to happen? When's the scoring going to happen? we're still looking for that scoring to happen. And even when you have Tom Brady break the rules, and I think that's a little bit overblown, to give the Raiders help, it still doesn't matter. Commanders and under for me for this game.
Yeah, well, in the Tom Brady story, I'll talk more in the final thought because it needs to be addressed. But yeah, it's overblown. I'm taking Washington as well. Vegas just hasn't looked good through 2 weeks. They got to win week one in an ugly, sloppy game against New England. Geno Smith was better week one than he was week number two, but it was still not anything spectacular. He was outright abysmal in week number two. Sorry, week number one he was good. Week number two he was abysmal with 3 interceptions. Mariota's been good in relief recently. I mean, we saw him play for Philadelphia. We've seen him play for a couple other teams in as a backup. I think he's enough in the vein of Jaden Daniels where he could still be good. And I think Washington gets the job done. I think they have a better defense as well, which is going to be a big part of this game. And we move on to one of the headline games of the week. It is the Chargers at 2-0 hosting the 1-1 Denver Broncos after that heartbreaking loss to the Colts last week. Denver is 2.5-point road underdogs going to LA. For the Broncos, you're going to play J.K. Dobbins. You're going to play Courtland Sutton and Bo Nix. Keep in mind that this Chargers defense is very, very good. So it could be a very low-scoring game in this one. No Evan Ingram in this game. So if you want to take a dart throw on a guy like Troutman at tight end, good luck to you. Hopefully it doesn't come to that for you. For the Chargers, Marion Hampton is kind of in the same vein as Ashton Genty. He has not been good. And then with that fumble last week, we saw Najee get more involved. I kind of think he might be the number 2 running back on this team this week. So play him with absolute caution. But you're going to play McConkey. You're going to play Keenan Allen. You probably should be playing Quentin Johnson if you've got him and you need a spot start. And obviously Justin Herbert's been fantastic. Both defenses are possible decent plays, but it's also this could be a shootout. This could be a 13-10 type of game or a 33-30 type of game. Well, only time will tell. But Joel, who do you got?
Yeah, game of the week here, as you said, one of the games of the week, I should say, because you still have the Monday night game.
Yep.
Oh yeah, definitely sexy game there. And Broncos hurting after that penalty kick redo that you're still trying to figure out what. 'Cause you had to believe anybody who bet on that game, who had fantasy implications on that game, who had survivor of that game. All of a sudden, it's like, oh yeah, okay, hey, they won. Like what? What do you mean they get to redo the kick? How does that happen? And all of a sudden, the Colts with the field goal kick heard around the National Football League. And now you've got the Chargers coming off of that early Monday Night Football win. And I think we're looking at a little bit of a letdown for the Chargers here because you have the Chargers going to Brazil, halfway across the world, stunning the Chiefs, then having a pretty easy time of it, I think, on Monday Night Football. And now you've got a Broncos team that is coming in here pissed off after that whole redo fiasco, and they're looking to take it out on someone. And I think they take it out on the Chargers, and I think the Chargers have their first shock loss of the year. I'm picking the Broncos to bounce back.
The Chargers are 2-0 with 2 divisional wins so far. They can go 3-0 with all wins in division, beating every team, and I think they get that done. I just think the Chargers are legitimately a great team where Denver is still on the rise, but I don't think they're quite on that level yet. I think the trio of wide receivers is much better than what Denver's got. Troy Franklin, Pat Bryant as the number 2 and 3 options is just not the same as Keenan Allen, Quentin Johnson, and Lab McConkey. I just think that the Chargers are too good. I think their defenses are very, very equal in this game. And at that point, I'm picking on who I think is the better quarterback and who's got the better weapons, and that's the Chargers in this one. I know the Chargers have looked very good through 2 weeks, and they can start being the Chargers we all know and love at any point where they start blowing things. But right now, I'm going to take the Chargers. They just look too much like a legitimate contender in the AFC. All right, next up, Seattle. 7.5-point home favorites against the New Orleans Saints.
One of the not great games of the week.
It's not the headliner for sure. This feels a lot like that Carolina Arizona game that was better to watch.
Like,
Like
we
I can
gotta
see
have another game in here somewhere. Okay, who do we still have left?
Like I can see the headliner of this window is Denver and the Chargers because the next 3 games we're going to talk about, 2 games.
Hmm.
Arizona, San Francisco is probably the next biggest one. This might be the least. But last week that Arizona Carolina game ended up being very entertaining, whereas like the Eagles Chiefs game, which was the headliner, wasn't so much. I can kind of see something like that happen again, where maybe Denver LA is not as interesting to watch, and this game just becomes very watchable. Saints 7.5 point road underdogs. You're going to play Kamara. I think Olave is at least in consideration.
Maybe
Spencer Rattler.
he's not too bad.
Spencer Rattler in super flex or very deep leagues is probably someone you could consider at this point. He's been good through 2 weeks. Not spectacular, but when we're in a 16-team league, Joe Burrow's down. Justin Fields is down. You go down this list. Jaden Daniels is down. Brock Purdy still not necessarily sure to come back yet this week. It's possible. Spencer Rattler, if you're in a deep league like that, he's got to be at least in consideration. And then Juwan Johnson, the tight end, has to be played. He's been the best player for the Saints in the passing game. It's going to remain that way. For the Seahawks, with Charbonnet doubtful, Ken Walker becomes an absolute must play in this game as we lose the camera for Joel. He's coming back. Ken Walker should be very good in this game. JSN has become a must start every single week. And then you have spot starts like Sam Darnold in this one as options. This, not the high profile game, one of the lowest profile games of the week, but the Saints have been competitive. I think with the points, you're giving the Saints a 7-point cushion. I think you take that, but straight up is what we do for picks. So, Joel, what do you got?
Yeah, because Saints almost did it last week with my bold prediction. So close, not. But they are an average, not good team. I think the Seahawks can muddle through enough and get an ugly win in one of the worst late games. Seriously, how is this a late game? I'm picking
It's
Seahawks.
in Seattle. That's why it's a late game. Yeah, the West Coast teams typically have the late games. Then you have your high
Yeah, this
profile
one
games
is
to get it to.
definitely a game.
But again, I think this could be one of those very entertaining, no name or bad team kind of games. So if you have like NFL Sunday Ticket, this could be one of those you want to have at least in the multi view, because I think it's going to be one of the better ones of the weekend for oddly competitive entertainment. I am going to take Seattle as well. I just think they are too much better of a team than the Saints are. But that being said, the Saints have been very, very close both of the first 2 weeks. I can see it being very close once again. Next up,
we go to the Windy City.
Yeah, this is where the big name teams get the late window, and you go, oh, you're going to put this in front of everybody's face for some reason. Unfortunately, I think this is the national game for Fox in the late window, and the Arizona San Francisco, which is the matchup, is the regional game. Dallas at Chicago. Chicago, 1.5-point home favorites over the Cowboys. I'm sorry, what? That seems bizarre. The Cowboys have looked decent for 2 weeks. I mean, they didn't look inspiring against the Giants defensively, but they stood toe to toe with the Eagles in week 1. We expect the Eagles to be a good team.
The Bears got beaten up and smacked around by the Lions last week.
They got just dismantled, and then they lost to the Vikings in week 1, which they haven't looked good for 7 out of the 8 quarters, and they looked abysmal against the Falcons last week. So,
and you had the Cowboys who had that shootout with the Giants last year. So you have to wonder.
It's an interesting line. It's a very interesting line to say the least. DeAndre Swift again with that
smoking.
Yeah, DeAndre Swift with that quad injury. If he plays, you're going to play him. It's a good matchup. Rome Odunze and DJ Moore as well in the passing game. And I do think, as we saw with Russell Wilson last week, I think Caleb Williams is an interesting DFS kind of play, deep league. You might play him, especially if you lost to Burrow. Just we saw Russell Wilson go for 450 and 3 touchdowns last week. For the Cowboys, I think he's pretty much fire everybody up on the roster. You're going to play Dak. You're going to play Javonte Williams, who's become one of the best running backs in football for fantasy so far through 2 weeks. Pickens, Ferguson, and, of course, CeeDee Lamb all in your lineup. This should be a very interesting game. not a game that I'm particularly interested in. Looking in that late window, I'd rather watch the Cardinals and 49ers. But fortunately, 4 games in the late window means the multi-view will just be full with 4 games. It's hard to understand why the Bears are favorites. Vegas knows better than we do a lot of the time, but 1.5 point home favorite for the Bears. Interesting. Who do you got?
Because the Cowboys should beat up the Bears with the better offense here, right, Flyin? I mean, that's
You
the
would
one
think.
thing that comes in your brain is like, you're looking at the Bears offense recently. You look at the Cowboys offense recently. You're going, okay, you've got to pick the Cowboys to get back to being above 500. Ben Johnson will probably long for the days of Detroit right now because I bet you he's liking his bigger paycheck. But then when he's looking at his team record and sort of extrapolating ahead how this year's going to go, he's probably going, oh no, we suck again. But yeah, let me tell you, this Bears team might have once again won the offseason championship, which means how much in the regular season, Ryan?
Not a damn thing.
Thank you. Yeah, that's right. For the regular season, it doesn't matter what it means. And yeah, boys win. And yes, the Bears still suck. Again.
Yeah, I got to take Dallas as well. I'm shocked that the Bears at all were favorites in this one. I think it's going to play out very poorly for the Bears. This could be a beatdown, if I'm being completely honest. That being
If the
said,
Bears somehow win this, I will legit be shocked.
it's not a game I'm expecting the Bears to be very competitive in, if we're being completely honest. Caleb Williams has looked like exactly the bust I thought he would be when he was drafted through 19 games or so far. I just don't think it's going to get any better.
There's a team worse than the Dolphins.
I don't know if I'd go that far. I will say this: the way they played last night and the way they played against New England, I would say that the Bears are worse than the Dolphins. But we'll see how they look in week number 3 of the Bears.
And
all right, last up,
we go to Santa Clara.
Yeah, last game of the afternoon window. Arizona, 1.5 point underdogs on the road in Santa Clara, playing the 49ers. For the Cardinals, Trey McBride, James Conner, definitely in your lineups. Harrison he's probably got to be in your lineup, but he has been so hot and cold and inconsistent, and Kyler Murray as well. I don't think the must starts. You're probably going to have to do them in your starting lineups if you drafted them, just because you put so much worth into them. It could be an interesting spot to not play them. For the 49ers, you may or may not want to play Christian McCaffrey. He's very good at football. You don't bench him. Pearsall and Juwan Jennings at the wide receiver position are definitely flex options at least. And then Mac Jones or Brock Purdy, whichever one starts, I think in deeper leagues is definitely
feels like Mac Jones because I saw a quote where Brock Purdy is he wants to be smart with his body, so I think he's going to be waiting another week or two.
Yeah, I've got a decision in a Dynasty Superflex league where I have Purdy and Daniels. I have Stroud, so Stroud's in the lineup. I have to play 2, and I do have both backups. I have to make the decision between Mac Jones and Marcus Mariota this week.
Oh boy, don't you just love fantasy sometimes?
Fantasy football is the best. Anyways, Joe, who do you got in this game?
Yeah, this one you have cards. You have to look at the last 2 weeks. 2 close nail biter wins. I think that bites them where here because the 49ers go up 3-0 and hand Kyler and his Cards their first loss just because I know you've had all the injuries for the 49ers, and I thought the Saints were going to get by them. 49ers were still that good, and I think the Cardinals not being able to close things out, once again, it comes back to bite them where, 49ers.
Yeah, I'm taking the Niners as well. I just think the Cardinals have not looked good through 2 weeks, even though they've gotten 2 wins. They weren't convincing against the Saints, had to have a goal line stand, and they tried to give that game back to Carolina, and Carolina is not a good team. San Francisco, step up in competition for what the Cardinals has faced. The 49ers, even with backup quarterbacks, they've looked good, and Christian McCaffrey typically just dismantles the Cardinals, and I expect nothing less than that this weekend. Cardinals to lose to the Niners by definitely more than the 1.5 they're being given.
And just imagine me with my Carrie Underwood wig. We've been waiting all week for Sunday, day for Sunday night.
Yeah, I don't want to think of that. Unpopular opinion maybe, but I hate that song. I think it's the dumbest opening we've got and they remake the same song every year. Doesn't
Yeah,
sound any different. Barely
and
looks any different. And they spent
and
millions of
they
dollars into
change they
remaking it.
change it to whoever's playing that week, so, hey,
Yeah,
that's a little
yeah, that's
different.
that's fine. Yeah, she records 2 team names. Woo! I just think it's the worst of the pregame introduction type.
I'm surprised they don't have Taylor Swift doing it now.
They couldn't afford her. Anyways, Kansas City going to New York to face the Giants. The Giants are 5.5-point underdogs at home. The Chiefs 0-2. The Giants 0-2. I think you can play Mahomes. Worthy, we'll see if he plays. That's going to be
Yeah,
very
there's a
interesting.
little bit of a question on the doubt there for Worthy, and Kelsey, just not sure which Kelsey's gonna show up.
He's been abysmal. Pacheco, I don't think you can. It's one of those things like you can play Mahomes, but I don't know if you can play anything else. Hollywood Brown's probably your best bet. Maybe you can take the shot that Thornton gets behind the defense, especially if Worthy misses the game and gets a long touchdown like he did last week. But it's pretty bleak for the Chiefs fantasy football wise. For the Giants, I don't know what you should do at running back quite yet with Scatabo being so good last week. Tyrone Tracy
Yeah,
really hasn't
Tracy
gotten it
was
done.
definitely a disappointment last week. Ugh.
I think Wandale Robinson has earned a spot, at least in flex consideration. And obviously, you're playing Malik Neighbors. Russell Wilson, again, another guy in a super flex. He is in my starting lineup this week, mostly because it was that, Penix, or Joe Flacco to go along with Josh Allen. And I just think Russell Wilson's going to have a big game, especially if his job is on the line, like they're saying it's on the line. Fantasy football wise, not a lot of great options in this one, but some sneaky plays if you have the guts to do it. Chiefs a 5.5-point road favorite after starting 0-2, losing to the Chargers and the Eagles. We both expect those to be good
It's
teams. So
got to be
maybe
all because of Mahomes, because he's pretty much the offense.
I get it. You've lost to 2-0 good teams, but they haven't looked spectacular through 2 weeks. They had a lot of really. I know they got to the Super Bowl and got embarrassed, but throughout that season they had so many fluky wins. It's
Yeah,
weird
that's
to see them.
wondering, are they like the baseball team that hired a witch from Etsy with the black magic?
Yeah, but 5.5-point road favorites. We'll see how that goes. Joel, who do you got in this one?
Yes, I'm going. Somebody's looking at these two teams. You're looking at their histories. You're looking at the franchise. And you're going, how does one pick the Giants here? Good week from Russ cooking last week at home, and the Chiefs having not much of an offense other than Mahomes. Like I just said, he was pretty much. Mahomes runs to the right. Mahomes runs to the left. It's Mahomes on the first down. You had Kelsey throwing, if it seems to be the norm, even with Worthy back, not back. It's not just because I have more confidence in the Giants. I just have less confidence in the Chiefs. And that's why I'm picking the Giants. And I think that Chiefs offense just looks beyond abysmal right now. That's the main reason why I'm holding my nose. I'm taking the G-Men on the road. Well, actually, it's the Chiefs on the road. I'm taking the G-Men, the Big Apple, to take a big bite out of the Chiefs.
That is not the way I'm going. I will say this: I would take the Giants to cover. I think this is a shockingly close game, and as it is the standalone island game for Sunday night, I think we all hope it's a good competitive game, so we're not watching a giant turd melt in the sun kind of deal. But I think that the Chiefs have lost to 2 very good teams. They've been competitive. They haven't been great. Luna, you're driving me nuts today. You're on the microphone too. Say hello. No, she's shy. Anyways, I'm going to try and hold her so she doesn't keep jumping up and knocking things around. But I'm taking the Chiefs. I think they're just too good.
Isn't that a core role of a cat?
Yes, that's why I'm holding her so she doesn't do it. I understand it's part of her core function, but we don't need management to start interfering with things like grabbing cords right now because someone wants to get attention. Now she's going to freak out that she's getting attention. Cats are fun. And yeah. Anyways, I'm taking the Chiefs.
The game pick already in progress.
Yes, I'm taking the Chiefs. I just think they're too much better of a team. Don't be surprised if this is like a 27-24 type of game or something where it's shockingly close. I think the Giants have more fight in than the lines give them credit for. And again, Dallas barely lost to the Eagles week 1. They barely beat the Giants this week. Maybe the Giants are a better team. Maybe they're closer to what we would consider a good team at least. So I think the Chiefs win it, but I would take the Giants to cover. I'm taking the Chiefs in this one. Then we go to Monday night, which I think has
Only one game, thank God, this week.
Yeah. There's a lot of doubleheaders this year for Monday Night Football, and next year, provided the ESPN acquisition goes through for NFL Network and the stuff like that, there shouldn't be any doubleheaders next year. That is still pending approval from the powers that be. Monday night, which I think has the best.
Also, a very good song off the Radio Chaos album by Roger Waters.
I'm not familiar with it. Anyways, I think Monday Night Football has the best introduction for a game. The cover of the Phil Collins "Air of the Night" with Snoop and I think it's Chris Stapleton. Not a big country fan, but I think it's him. Very good cover, and then they do the little. It's much better than Sunday Night Football one, which is just like I have to mute that one every time. Anyways, not to mention, I think the song for Monday Night Football is better this week for sure. The game's a lot better this week as well. The Detroit Lions go to Baltimore, but they are 6.5 point road underdogs. That seems excessive. Both these teams look very, very good at times and not so good at other times this year. The Ravens coming off of that interesting performance by Derrick Henry. I think they try and get him going, but this Detroit defense is much better than it was last year.
Like Bugs Bunny would say it. Interesting.
Yeah, it's weird. I think Derrick Henry's got to be in your lineup as well as Zay Flowers, Lamar Jackson. Yeah, he may have to be in the lineup. I don't think you have to play Andrews, and beyond that, Hopkins is just a dart throw for a touchdown kind of play. He's 2 for 2. He's had 2 receptions and a touchdown each week. I don't think it's something you want to chase. For the Lions, who do you bench? Anybody? Goff? No, you're playing him. You're going to play Gibbs. You're going to play Montgomery. You're going to play St. Brown. You're going to play Williams. You're going to play Sam Laporta. This should be a high-scoring, fun fantasy bonanza. I'm looking at my projected points total for this game is 61. I think it's going to be very close. I mean, that puts it 31-30. I think it's going to be a very, very entertaining game. And fortunately, it's a Monday Night Football one, so everybody's going to get to see it in all of its glory. Joel, last pick of the week. Who do you got?
You have to roll with the flock here, but Lamar can definitely not rely on his legs alone like he did last week, and the King has to get back to his majesty's royal glory. The Lions have so many weapons that the Ravens need absolutely everyone. Flowers, Henry, Andrews, as I'm wincing trying to see him not drop the ball as I say that. Boy, everybody needs to stay up, focused, and involved. This is really a possible Super Bowl preview, as some people have predicted. Ravens and Lions meeting in a big game. The Ravens need to win at home and to prove that they can win and not just against bad teams like the Bears, who they took their frustrations out on last week. I'm picking the Ravens, but this is a tough one because I think the Lions are very easily coming in here and punking the Ravens because, once again, they've got a whole lot of weapons, but I'm picking the Ravens solely because of home field advantage.
Yeah, I'm on the same page as you. I think the Ravens win a close one. I do think it's high scoring and entertaining. I just think that home field's going to be too much. Don't be surprised though if the Lions win this game 41-40 kind of deal. Like the Ravens, it's going to come down if their defense can hold up, and I think they will hold up well enough to get the win. All right, so that is the picks segment finished. I've got Philadelphia over the Rams, the Chargers over Denver, and Kansas City over the Giants. Joel goes the opposite way on those games, and we agree on everything else, which I thought we'd have a lot more disagreement this week. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, but we've been very good on the picks, so seeing that we're still kind of in lockstep for the most part makes me think we're on the right track. Again, 26-6 for me so far, 24-8 for Joel through 2 weeks, both 13-3s for me, 12-4 for him. So Little more interesting picks this week. We'll see how they pan out. And we'll go to final thoughts with Joel.
All right, so 3 final thoughts for me. Of course, number 1, if you're having a rough day, just remember, Tua's record against the Bills is now 1-9.
Yeah, he's not very good against the Bills.
Number 2, also concerning the Dolphins, looking ahead at the Dolphins' schedule flying, 3 must-wins, I think, from this team. At Panthers, at Saints,
Yep.
and at the Browns. If the Dolphins cannot beat those teams, I think they're looking at an offer this year with how poorly they are playing, with all the inconsistencies and all the problems that they have. And since you look at some of those other games, Bills probably sweeping them, Jets could sweeping them, Jets could sweep them. I think the Pats might. I know they'll probably be out for blood in that return game when they see the Pats again, especially after the Pats beating them at home. But just imagine if the Pats sweep them, the Pats. Then you also have teams like the Falcons, Commanders, Bengals, and even with Browning, I think Bengals still better. Yeah, just where are the wins flying with how bad this team is? Just 3 games in the 2025 season.
I would be surprised if the Jets swept them. Honestly, I think Monday night against the Jets next week is going to be the more likely win for Miami than the one in New York. I don't know offhand when the games up north are, so how much weather comes into be a factor for the Jets and the Patriots games. We'll see. I do agree with you. You have to beat the Panthers. You have to beat the Browns. You have to beat the Saints if you can. The Saints, though, the way they're playing, I don't have a lot of confidence in that game either. This could be a team that legitimately is one of the bottom of the NFL. And if they are, then I think you got to find a way to get out of Tua's contract and just start over.
And my final thought before we can go to your thoughts on the Baker. I don't know what kind of gate this would be. Maybe you can give it a gate name when we get there. But final, we talked about it in the Bucks game. You said I wasn't all that happy when Baker came to the Bucks initially, but how about his timeline as a graphic posted? Starting off, of course, in the Cleveland abyss. Then went to Carolina, didn't exactly work out there, was released by Carolina, claimed by the Rams, finally started to seem like the Baker of old with the few starts with the Rams there. And then he was claimed by the Bucks. The Bucks have not had a division crown since he has come to Tampa. And this stat, 2023-2025, more pass touchdowns, 74, than any other quarterback in the National Football League. You've had him fantasy and you're hoping for no regressions this year. Those are my final thoughts.
Yeah, I think Baker's going to keep it rolling. For me, I'm going to talk about the Tom Brady situation. He was in the booth with the Raiders on Monday Night Football. He's not able to attend most of the games because he is a commentator for Fox. And people got upset. Oh, he's giving away insider secrets. He can talk to all these teams. No, he can't. He can't criticize the refs on air. He can't go and talk to the actual teams about their game plan or all this. He has so many rules as an owner / commentator that he is not getting the inside information. If he is, it's because his broadcast team is sloppy in giving him the information. But I don't think that's occurring. I think it's just one of those things. People like to hate on Tom Brady, and I'm one of them. But I like to hate on him when it's legitimate. You want to talk about Deflategate. You want to talk about Spygate. You want to talk about this.
Which gate is this gate?
This could be Fraudgate because it's just not a real gate. Honestly, it doesn't bother me at all that he is a commentator that does this with the rules set in place. If the commentator team with him is giving him insider trading secrets, and then he goes to the Raiders, who are 0-2 or 1-1, sorry, they should be 0-2. It's clearly not helping. And again, with his commitment to Fox, he's usually not even at the game. So we're worried about it because one night against the Chargers, who he hasn't covered in a long, long time, he's in the box with the coaches. It just doesn't make sense to me. All right, that's our time. My voice is kind of shot. I don't really know why, just probably from doing this so much.
Ryan's voice is questionable.
Yes. Fortunately, we don't have to do this again until next Wednesday or Tuesday when we do our recaps, or possibly Wednesday. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, that's our time. I've been flying Ryan Gilchrist along with
Tampa, Ralph Joel.
And with that, enjoy week 3, and we